Greetings and welcome to the Battlefront Survival Guide, which is soon to be rebranded. I'm in the process of rebranding to the Star Wars Survival Guide, and it's like a rebrand to an old brand that I tried out before, and I didn't particularly feel like I knew where I was going with it, and now I think I do know where I'm going with it. And a lot of it originally was in conjunction with a podcast, audio podcast, and when I decided, well, I would just do sorry about the autofocus, when I would just do Star Wars gaming, specifically Battlefront, I thought, well, I'm going to use the most popular word in the title. I figured Battlefront would be perfect for search. You got Battlefront updates, which Elliot's channel is specific towards Star Wars Battlefront series. And then they decided to cut current development on that game, and so here we are. And I'm going to revert back to Star Wars Survival Guide, but I'm going to keep it mostly, I think, Star Wars gaming developments. But what I decided was that I would kind of use this as a vlog for Star Wars issues as they come up, as far as news, not really reactions. I'm not really a reaction sort of person. Point is, I wanted to talk about Ahsoka Tano. And kind of, I thought, I want to have a plan of the different things I would talk about, but I just figured as stuff comes up, I'll just talk about it. Stuff that I have responses or reactions to. And the first thing that I wanted to talk about was, of course, the fact that Rosario Dawson played Ahsoka in The Mandalorian. And this isn't like a review of the episode. There's just a few thoughts I had seeing some of the reaction online. So here we have Anthony Bresnikan, formerly of Entertainment Weekly, writing this for Vanity Fair. Really good article. It's about and it's an interview with Rosario Dawson about making The Mandalorian. But Dave Filoni also appears in this interview talking about different things. And my thoughts overall, I really felt like she did a good job. Obviously, her facial features are slightly different than maybe what you might visualize as far as human features go on a real life person versus animated character. Particularly the nose is different. But once you get past the initial, oh, she looks a little bit different than the animated version, realize that animated characters always look different than their live action counterparts. And so you have to sort of do a reverse engineering on your expectations based on the animated character. And you look at Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan Kenobi, as Ewan Kenobi, and you compare him to the animated version. There's a similitude. They're similar, but they're not the same. And so in this case, look at Rosario Dawson as Ahsoka. What would she look like animated? And it's not really that hard a leap. You just make assumptions based on the animated character. And so once you get past that, you ask yourself, okay, did she do a good job forming the character? And immediately you think of Ashley Eckstein, voiced Ahsoka. And up until now, the only representation we had for this character was the animated version voiced by Ashley Eckstein. Ashley was the character. But you take someone like Matt Lanter voicing Anakin Skywalker, and he has a different voice from Hayden Christensen. But no one's going to argue that if Anakin Skywalker shows up, whether in the Kenobi series or anything else, no one's going to argue that Matt Lanter should be performing Anakin Skywalker. No one should be suggesting that James Arnold Taylor should come in and perform Obi-Wan Kenobi in live action. Difference is those characters started in live action as those actors. And so for animated series, you can't afford the movie actor, so you get the voice actor. And Matt Lanter's voice is very different from Hayden Christensen. And I think Revenge of the Sith might have come across better had Hayden had more of that deeper resonance in his voice. So in this case, you have to look at it in reverse. Ashley Eckstein would have been the only voice actor to come in and physically represent the character on screen. And that's just not normally done, obviously. Um, so here we have Rosario Dawson. And the question that people ask is, well, why wasn't Ashley Eckstein cast as Ahsoka? And I think anything you come to is complete and total speculation, not based on any facts that we heretofore have. So obviously anything you say will just merely be guesswork. And a couple thoughts that come to mind. I considered the fact, well, you know, the only voice actor to appear on screen in Mandalorian was Matt Lanter. Showed up in the episode where they're on that prison ship. He was the guy in the control room, and not playing Anakin Skywalker. Difference is, though, Matt Lanter, I'm not sure where the other voice actors stand as far as like their SAG card, Screen Actors Guild membership. Obviously, Freddie Prinze Jr. is a screen actor, part of SAG, but his character is dead. So, you know, he wouldn't show up playing Kanan Jarrus. You know, maybe in a flashback. Again, he's got his SAG card. Now, I don't know whether Ashley has her SAG card. I don't know if that makes a difference. It's just something I thought of. That you tend to get experienced live action actors to portray characters in live action. I know I'm missing something. Bo-Katan. Yeah, Katie Sackhoff. Obviously, Katie Sackhoff came in and portrayed Bo-Katan. She's a voice actor, voiced the character. But again, experienced television actor and someone who's, very well known to sci-fi fans everywhere. And so, obviously, with a SAG card. Again, I don't know. It's just speculation whether that makes a difference or not. If it does make a difference, I don't know what the difference is. But it is something to consider. In the article, Ashley, they do have comments from Ashley, who's very supportive of Rosario appearing. In fact, she had it on her Instagram, and I don't have that up here, but she did have a post on her Instagram congratulating Rosario on becoming part of Team Ahsoka. Here's where we've got Steel Wars, which is Steel Saunders. It was very, very good. I love following him. He posted a link to the article, and I had said I was really hoping Dave would explain why he didn't try to cast Ashley. I don't mind the decision, by the way, but I am curious. And Steele says, I can appreciate your curiosity, but the answer to why a longtime friend didn't get the job could be a bit rough. And I agree. I said, yeah, you're right. That's why I'm not terribly insistent on getting an answer. And as of right now, it's 20 minutes until Steele has his episode of his live stream, and I asked if he was going to ask Ashley about it, but no response as of yet. So I am curious, but I'm not, it's not that important to know for sure. I don't really care because there's this thing in fandom where we rail against some decision we didn't like. And it's like, it didn't involve you. It's not up to you. You have to either accept it or stop watching. And I don't think any of us are going to stop watching Star Wars. So anyway, that's my thoughts on Rosario versus Ashley. I thought Rosario did a great job. I don't know how much of the stunts were her own and how much were a stunt person, but I thought it was good. And was it the most amazing thing ever? No. I like that she's there. I like that she has a live action version. I like that she's as in the canon as anybody else in any of the films. And obviously, we know that the Clone Wars and Rebels is canon within Star Wars. We know George was kind of foundational in the creation of Ahsoka. And also mentioned in that Bresnikan tweet, which I've already closed the window for, that picture of George Lucas holding Baby Yoda. Turns out Rosario was there that day in costume. They were shooting. So George got to not only hold old Grogu is his name now. Spoiler alert. George not only got to hold baby, but he also got to see Ahsoka come to life. I think it's great that Rosario got to meet George. So here's a tweet from Eckhart's Ladder. It says, I just saw this on Facebook and I gotta say, disappointing. I know I've complained before, but what's the point of a story group if the man writing a trilogy about Thrawn has zero insight into what's going on? Lucasfilm won't even consult the guy who created and best knows Thrawn. To me, this is a fundamental misunderstanding of how tie-in novels, tie-in writing works. The tie-in author doesn't have a say, never has had a say in the visual medium representation of their character. It's up to the rights holder to decide how much they're going to value the creation of that author. And perfect example is with Chuck Wendig and Cobb Vanth. You know, Chuck Wendig wrote this little sidebar scene in the Aftermath books about a guy wandering the deserts of Tatooine who happened to have this armor, this beat up Mandalorian armor, sort of setting himself up as a law enforcement officer on Tatooine. And Mandalorian just embraced it and said, okay, let's bring that over. Let's use that. That's a heck of a compliment to a writer of a tie-in trilogy who wrote this scene about an ancillary character. It's not even the main characters from the book. They brought over a sidebar character from this series. That's amazing. And that's a high compliment to what Chuck Wendig created. The man writing the novel trilogy doesn't get a say, except for the fact that he wrote the character. He defined the character from the beginning. And what a compliment to Timothy Zahn that they brought Thrawn into Rebels, that they made him canon. There was no guarantee that he was going to be canon. He was solidly in the expanded universe, and they brought him over anyway. They gave Timothy Zahn new books to write, paid the man more money. So again, this is lame to be disappointed about this. I'm sorry. And so here's Timothy Zahn's comments. And again, this is just like, it's like George Lucas said, you know, I get to be a fan now. I get to see what they come up with, and I don't have to be worried about creating the thing. Here's what Timothy Zahn says. It's not really news, but because many, now first, not really news. That means, duh, this is normal. Okay. No, I was not holding back on you or anyone else. I was and am completely out of the loop on all things Mandalorian. The first I heard about Ahsoka's name-dropping question was when people began peppering this page with comments, questions, and verbal high fives. So what will happen next? Your guesses are as good as mine. One thing I do know, good writers, producers, and directors don't drop a bombshell like that without some kind of follow-up somewhere down the line. I'll be sitting right there with all the rest of you eagerly waiting to see how the saga unfolds. And this comment here from Eckhart's Ladder, so far Dave Filoni Thrawn has been all right, but Zahn's is better and more nuanced. They're the same character. There's no difference between Timothy Zahn's Thrawn and Dave Filoni's Thrawn, except we've only seen him in a cartoon. We've seen him just in relation to the mission on Lothal, the occupation of Lothal. We've only heard his name in The Mandalorian, so we don't even know what's coming up. And to say that Filoni's Thrawn has been all right, but Zahn's is better, completely different medium. It's like saying the Jurassic Park book is better than the movie. Now that's hard to argue, but that is a saying you could say. It's like saying any, To Kill a Mockingbird book is better than the movie. Well, of course it is. The books establish the character and elaborate on the character and flesh out the character way more than a visual medium can. That doesn't mean it's better or worse. Dave's not doing something different from what Timothy Zahn established. The latest Thrawn trilogy, as far as I know, are canon. How that all fits together is up to the producers of the TV show. But again, it's a tie-in. We all, George Lucas always reserved the right to change anything in the expanded universe. And he did. From the very beginning, when, what's his name? Foster, David Allen Foster, wrote the Splinter of the Mind's Eye, the erstwhile sequel to Star Wars. Turns out that's not canon. Well, it was at the beginning. but that got changed. So just as remember people batting an eye about that. Well, maybe they did back then. We didn't have the internet. We didn't have Twitter. So Star Wars Twitter didn't exist back then. So it's a similar situation. Again, the tie-in author doesn't automatically get to consult on what the screenwriters are going to. He's not a screenwriter. He's a novelist. He's got his own work to do. The fact that Thrawn even exists in canon is a huge compliment to the guy. And they paid him good money for that. So again, there's no need. It's not really news. Let me go back there. It's not really news. You don't need to be disappointed that he didn't consult on a name drop for a character. Don't even know if Thrawn's going to show up. Again, he created the character, yeah, and they've paid him a great compliment already. So I just think this is just much ado about absolutely nothing. See here. So here's a question right here. It's so funny to me to see people actually arguing over if Ahsoka was too violent or not. I'm over here living my best life, loving that she was a ninja in a forest slaying soldiers. Absolutely. I'm the same. And I said, my only question is, why did she make this her fight? And then we find out, and duh, she's looking for Thrawn. So, so a philosophical question. Was Ahsoka too violent? Immediately you're thinking, well, I am no Jedi, right? But then a Jedi did, they killed bad guys. They defended their lives. Now you look at a character like Luke, and I made hay about this before. That his nonviolent response, his nonviolent solution, right? And that's the way of the Jedi. And again, Ahsoka is of the light side, but she's, killing these bad guys. And it, again, I think it's too much of a philosophical question for a space opera. The people of this planet, of this city, have suffered. Obviously, the bad guys have killed innocent people, so they're not innocent. It's like a war, light side versus dark side. It's a war battle, and she's doing a good work. She's looking for Grand Admiral Thrawn. I would guess, in a sense, to try to stop him from whatever plot he's onto at this point. He says, my guess is her stoic... Oh, yeah, I don't get where people thought Ahsoka was a pacifist. My guess is her stoic stance at the finale of Rebels, seeming all chill and calm, probably caused a bit of relief that she was beyond the fight or something. And I don't know that she ever was beyond the fight. She was fighting, Vader. Then we ask about this the timeline. All we know is this is very, was it ever established when exactly her scene in the Rebels epilogue was set? Maybe her appearance in The Mandalorian is set before that in the timeline. All we know is that it was very shortly after Return of the Jedi. Yeah, I remembered the finale did a bit of a time jump, but I couldn't quite remember when all the bits were set. And then I said, I'm curious about the timeline too, but last we knew Ahsoka was there the last time Thrawn was seen. I thought maybe she wasn't. She was on Malachor, right? Yes. Somehow Ahsoka has reason to believe this lady has seen Thrawn, which makes me think things have happened. So this got me thinking and asking, the last time we saw Thrawn, he's jumping away with Ezra with Virgil. We don't know where they went. Nobody knows where they went. Why does Ahsoka confront this lady on the planet who apparently serves Grand Admiral Thrawn? What's happened in the interim and how much has happened? How much time has passed? So here's the thing. Timeline that was shown at the I need to present this. The timeline that was shown at the 2019 D23 Expo shows that Star Wars Rebels ended in right before New Hope. According to Star Wars Women of the Galaxy, Ahsoka Tano searched for Ezra Bridger 5 years after they last met in A World Between Worlds, which took place shortly before this episode. Therefore, the epilogue takes place in 5 ABY, and Mandalorian is 9 ABY. So this doesn't say that she found him. Prologue, the epilogue, sorry, is 5 years after, when Ahsoka runs into Sabine. Let's see, 5 years after her encounter with Ezra Bridger in the Worlds and the liberation of Lothal, when yada 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 happened, Tano traveled to Lothal with white clothing and a matching staff on a T6 shuttle to meet with Sabine Wren, who sought to bring Bridger home. Ergo, they left Lothal to venture into the unknown region, search for their friend. So 4 years after, present that. There's what I read. 4 years after this moment, when Ahsoka meets with Sabine, is when Ahsoka is found on Calodan on the forest planet of Corvus. There you will find Ahsoka Tano. All right. So, anyway, 4 years after, Ahsoka is on this planet, Corvus. Her cloak is all dirty, dingy, torn. Doesn't have her staff. She still has her 2 lightsabers. And she's looking for it, Grand Admiral Thrawn. What happened in the intervening years is the question. How's that search going? We don't know anything about it. And I think that's good, because obviously Ahsoka, the danger with Ahsoka in Rebels was her taking over the story, was her relationship with Anakin taking over the story, that danger there. But luckily it was reserved to just episodes. And so, it was kind of, the argument was made, well, why is he spending so much time? Why is Dave spending so much time working Ahsoka, working his character back into Rebels? They're all his characters. And the issue was, well, with the Mandalorian, I don't want to see too many characters from other things show up, because they're going to take over and take away from Mando. And I think they played Ahsoka just right, where she's similar to Luke in this respect, that she's seen what the emotion, she's seen what anger, fear do a Jedi. And so she doesn't want to train the baby Yoda, Grogu. She doesn't want to train Grogu. And you can see that emotion in her face, that I can't train him. I've seen that happen before, and she doesn't want to be a part of that. And she knows that taking him away from, it's just like Anakin getting separated from his mom. He is raised by his mom in a loving home. She's his guide. She's his, whatever. He leaves her, taken by Qui-Gon, voluntarily, of course. But it's still, he's got that separation. Now he's in some place with a bunch of strange people, but he likes Qui-Gon, right? Qui-Gon dies. He's left with Obi-Wan, who didn't really want to train the kid. Like, he's another pathetic life form, right? But he made a promise to Qui-Gon. It's not out of any love for Anakin. Now, they develop a friendship, but Anakin was still missing that parental bond. So in this case, Grogu's got a parental bond. She says he thinks of you as a father. He's got this parental bond with Din Djarin. And so Ahsoka says, we'll take him to this planet, Python, and put him on some kind of, look through the Palantir, right? And the Force will call out and other Jedi will hear it. And it makes me wonder, is it Ahch-To, or is it a mountain very similar to Ahch-To that had a seat that Rey sat on, right? Luke put his hands on to reach out to Leia, reconnect with the Force. It makes me wonder if there's 2 different names for this planet. Maybe it takes on a new name. Ahch-To, Ahsoka Tano. If it's named after her. I don't know. That just seems... Well, we already learned, I don't know if you know this, but Exegol was meant as evil Ahch-To. That's like Exegol, evil Ahch-To. There was anyway, J.J. Abrams sort of intended it to sort of feel that way. So, I don't know. It's Ahch-To, Ahsoka. No, seems alliterative factor there. Could be completely accidental. Or it could be another bit of Rian Johnson. Here at the Star Wars / Battlefront Survival Guide, we love Rian. I'm hoping, I don't know if that Search for Ezra show is going to be in the intervening years, or if it's going to be concurrent with Mandalorian. or after Mandalorian. You know, I don't know. I still think there's a chance Sabine shows up because, you know, Bo-Katan's trying to find Gideon, trying to retrieve the Darksaber. Sabine, I think, has some interest in the Darksaber residing in the hands of Bo-Katan. I think she has an interest in that. You know, I don't know if Mando's going to take part in the search for Ezra or what have you. But anyway, there that is. This is an interesting, from the Vanity Fair article. And Dave Filoni says, that quest, we learn, is a search for the villain Grand Admiral Thrawn. The last time fans saw Ahsoka was this spring's finale of the Clone Wars, but in the actual Star Wars chronology, the last time we saw her was at the end of Rebels, venturing off with Sabine Wren to find Ezra Bridger, who vanished along with Thrawn. Where does that scene fit in with where we find her in The Mandalorian? Filoni, right, but no, it's an interesting one. His voice is very similar to Lawrence Kasdan. It's not necessarily chronological. I'm going to stop. I think the thing that people will most not understand is they want to go in a linear fashion, but as I learned as a kid, nothing in Star Wars really works in a linear fashion. You do 4, 5, and 6, and then 1, 2, and 3. So in the vein of that history, when you look at the epilogue of Rebels, you don't really know how much time has passed. So it's possible that the story I'm telling in The Mandalorian actually takes place prior to that. Possible. I'm saying it's possible. Hera's narrating, or no, Sabine's narrating the epilogue. And when Ahsoka finds her and her going off to find Ezra is after the Battle of Return of the Jedi. But is it immediately after? Is it a long time after? I think Dave's just being coy. I still think this is after the epilogue of Rebels. But anyway, that's my thoughts on this. You can tweet at me at Indiana Jim on the old Twitters. And, of course, leave a comment here on the YouTube page, which would be probably better. But you can follow me there on Twitter, where I occasionally have some Star Wars tweets. So, anyway, I bid you good night, and may the Force be with you.